life. I live within that time. I wipe my crying eyes when earth becomes your bride. But a dream I realize. But till then I'll wait. Till then I'll wait. In the days life passes by, with dreams of better times, on Christ I will rely. In my time of need, He carries me. I know I'll be alright. His word will be my guide. How great to be set free. Rejoice, oh jubilee. Till then wait on me, Father. Till then I'll wait. Till then I'll wait. Till then I'll wait. I'll wait, Lord. Till then I'll wait. I'll wait on you, Father. I worship you. I give my all to you, Lord, 'cause you're worthy, Lord. You're worthy of all my praise. That's why I'll bless your name. I believe it. I'll bless your name. So I'll bless your name. I'll bless your name. Israel, help me say yeah. Israel, help me say yeah. Lift your hands and say, I praise your name. No matter what I'm going through. Ooh, I praise you. Oh, Lord, I bless your name. Outstretched hands, I give you praise. Oh, you're worthy of all the glory, of all the praise. I love you, Lord. I go where you want me to go. I do what you want me to do. I love you, Lord. Mighty Father, a glorious ruler, a worthy King. And I love you, Lord. I love you, Father. I bless your name. Your King Jesus. I'm waiting on you. I'm waiting on you. Oh, I am excited for the Lord has given me. I bless your name. Anybody believe it? Do you bless the Lord? Lift your hands and mighty praise. Almighty ruler. So help me praise. Mighty King. He blesses me. I love you, Lord. I love you, Lord.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. We want to welcome you to the Financial Aid Workshop. Um, that's going to be very informative this evening and is sponsored by the Campbell's Chapel AME Church family. We do have Mrs. Latrice Parker with us this evening from ODU. And at this time, I'm going to give it to her. I'm not sure where the Smithfield High School students are, but they were invited. Miss Parker.
Good evening. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak with you all today. I am very excited. Ms. Sheila can tell all of you that I get really excited when it comes to being able to meet new people, even though we're not in front of each other. I'm very excited to get to know you all virtually. My favorite topic to talk about to anyone is how to get through school in as less debt as possible. There are so many myths floating around there when it comes to students hearing about how they have to go into debt to get through school, or how there are only loans that they can get in order to accomplish that, which are so untrue. What we're going to do today is dispel some of those and hopefully give you some great tips on how you can go about getting as much aid as possible so that you can procure that degree for yourself. If I can get permission to share my PowerPoint, I'll go ahead and get started.
You got it. Where is it?
Yes, I have it now. Thank you so much. All right. So again, how to get a degree close to free, sponsored by Campbell Chapel AME Church, presented by Old Dominion University. Again, my name is Latrice Parker, and I am the Financial Aid Outreach Coordinator in the Financial Aid Office. My sole job is to find a way to communicate with you all and keep those gaps in communication as small as possible, to answer any questions that you may all have tonight, not just about ODU, but about college and finances for that in general. The first thing you have to start talking about when it comes to college finances is the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. It is very important. Even if you don't think you qualify for something, I still urge you to submit the FAFSA. The 2021-2022 FAFSA is now available for you to go ahead and start filling out. Now, we do hope that you try to get this information in by October the 1st of each year. The reason is because a lot of our colleges and universities only get a certain amount of funds to send out to their students. And for the most part, we actually start submitting or granting this aid on a first come, first served basis. We usually start with those students who submitted their FAFSA in October and work our way from there. So if you are a student who knows that you need the assistance of that additional funding, not just loans, but grants and scholarships as well, I do urge you to try your best to submit each FAFSA every year by the 1st of October. Now for the 2021-2022 FAFSA, we are asking for your 2019 tax information. We do this to give you more time in order to give us your finances. The IRS has come to find, and the Department of Education, that when we were doing it before using the prior year, it wasn't giving students or parents enough time to get that information submitted to the IRS. And it's because of that that we're now asking for 2 years prior, just to allow you more time to actually file. Again, please make sure you try to submit this information as close to October as possible. And if you are considering ODU, we ask that you get it into us by January 1st to meet the priority filing deadline. Every college and university has their own deadline, so I do recommend that you go and look at their websites to see when their priority consideration deadlines are as well. The Department of Education is the department that we get all of our funding from for the most part, especially our subsidized and our unsubsidized loans. But there are also a lot of other sources of financial aid that we get from other state as well as local institutions as well. We do urge you to submit your FAFSA in order to get any of this free money. This is also true if you're looking at getting a scholarship. A lot of colleges and universities also have a stipulation in their scholarships that students have to show need. Need basically tells them that you need help more than what you or your parents can offer to get you through school. And the only way that institutions can determine this is by seeing your FAFSA results. So again, even if you're only looking for scholarships, you still must submit your FAFSA to be determined eligible to receive that. The big thing that we want to know from your FAFSA is your EFC, what you and your family are able to contribute to your education. There's a lot that goes into that formula. We're basically looking to see your income as well as your parents' income. We want to know if there are any assets that you all are holding on to that you could potentially sell in order to help you get through school. We want to know your family size. Some of us come from very small families. I only have one sibling, but then we have some siblings that have 6, 7 others, which is totally fine. But of course, the more people in your family, the more need you show. So that is very important to put on that FAFSA. We're also looking at the age of your oldest parent. Is there additional sources of income they can look into, such as Social Security, if they are of age? And then lastly, the number of family members in college. Everyone knows that college is far from being cheap. So of course, the more number of family members in college, the more need that you show. So these are just some of the pieces of information that we are looking for when you are submitting your FAFSA, and what we're looking for in order to basically get a good understanding of what your financial need is. Some pro tips. I love offering these, especially with some of the triumphs and failures that I experienced going through school, especially as a first-generation college student. Both of my parents were in the Army. They enlisted as soon as they graduated high school, so neither of them really knew too much about college finances. So a lot of that help came from their research, as well as some of the help that I got from my high school counselors. But of course, my first year, it was truly a learning experience. So I decided to put this slide in here to kind of give you some of the tips that I found helpful. The first, something that saved me about 15 minutes alone on the FAFSA was importing my parents' tax information by using the IRS data retrieval tool, or what we call it, the DRT. It will save you so much time and so much free hassle of having to go line by line inputting that information. So I ask that you save yourself some time and that you also use this tool in order for you to make sure you're inputting the right information. Also, we noticed that some students and parents are leaving areas of the FAFSA blank, whether it's just by accident or if it's because they're unsure of what they need to put there. Please do not leave anything blank. If you have any questions, please reach out to someone who is able to help you clarify what that information is asking for so that you can input the correct information. Also, please make sure you're inputting your actual government name. I cannot tell you how many times we have not been able to locate a FAFSA because Mindy went by Tiny, or Tina went by Michelle, because they're not using their actual government name. Please put your actual name on the FAFSA, as well as make sure your Social Security number is correct. Those pieces of information are vital in order for us to locate your FAFSA and actually export the information that we need. Also, remember to put your school code on the FAFSA, whether it's ODU's or another school. Usually the school code can be found on the financial aid office website of that institution. So please make sure you have that handy before you actually start submitting the FAFSA. And lastly, remember that your parent and the student has to sign at the very end before you submit the FAFSA. Missing the signature will actually make your FAFSA get rejected, and we will not be able to get the information we need until a parent signature is put on that form. So just make sure all of these bases are covered, again, before you submit the FAFSA. This will save you so much time and a lot of hassle. Moving on, it's great that you've submitted the FAFSA if you already have done so. However, there are some times when you need to go back and do additional information. We do have some students who are randomly selected by the Department of Education for verification, meaning the Department of Education would like to fact check what you actually put on the FAFSA. They do this just to make sure that all the information that you gave to them is as correct and as possible. So one of the things that they may ask you to do is submit your tax transcripts for the 2019 year, yours and your parents. They may ask you to sign a document, an independent verification worksheet to verify who is actually in your household. They may ask for your W-2. And if they have any questions about your citizenship, they may ask you to submit documentation of that as well. Make sure that anything that they've asked for you to submit has been submitted in a timely manner. At ODU, we do ask that you get all of these documents into us by the 1st of June so that you can avoid having to wait 6 to 8 weeks for us to process it in our busy time. The earlier you submit these documents to your school's financial aid office, the better. The shorter the time you have to wait, and you get more time to actually figure out what you're getting from the financial aid office to help you pay for school. Please also remember, a lot of institutions require that you pay off your entire balance prior to starting school. If you are going to an institution like that, you need to make sure all of this is done so that you can pay off whatever you need to pay off, and so that you have enough time to find another source of revenue in case you need some extra money to handle the rest of the balance there may be. At ODU, we do disperse your aid about 10 days before the start of school so that you have enough time, if you are receiving a refund, to use some of that money to buy your books or buy other educational resources such as your laptops and things like that. The bottom refers to refunds. Some students may be lucky enough to get more money than what they need in order to cover the costs of their tuition and fees and housing, meal plans, things like that. If you do receive a refund, we ask that you try to hold on to it as long as possible and to only use it for education-related expenses. These are not the right type of funds to go to Cancun for or with for spring break. These are meant for you to hold on to just in case you decide to take an extra class or in case you decide to increase your meal plan and things like that. Some things you also need to consider when it comes to financial aid is to make sure that you are still meeting the requirements in order to receive it. At Old Dominion, we ask that you maintain at least a 2.0 and that you complete at least 67% of your total credit hours. These credit hours could be affected by any sort of grade forgiveness classes that you're taking, meaning some students have the option of retaking a class if they earned a grade that they're not too happy about, to get a chance to actually earn a higher grade. It is great if you actually are able to earn a higher grade. However, if you're not focusing and you do not, you'll still have that one bad grade up there, and it also can impact your pace or the amount of credits or percentage of credit hours that you are completing. So please make sure you're looking out for that when it comes to staying in good eligibility for financial aid. Also, make sure you're not staying in classes for too long. I know it gets great when you are in college. You never want to leave, but at some point you have to, especially if you're looking at getting that covered by the Department of Education. We will allow you 5 years or 10 semesters of funding from the Department of Education for your undergraduate year, or 180 credit hours for a certain degree. So whichever you hit first is when you will no longer be eligible to receive that financial aid. So again, these are some common things to make sure you keep in mind when you are receiving financial aid. Make sure that when you are taking classes, that you are focusing and that you are reaching out to your professors in their office hours if you're needing help. And make sure that you're also using the tutoring resources that you have on campus. Again, this degree is yours. It's going to take a lot of hard work and determination on your part. So make sure you're able to continue getting the help of the Department of Education and other resources by making sure you are doing what you need to do for your classes. My favorite portion of this slide is always about scholarships and grants. I can't tell you how important it is for students and parents to get out there and do the footwork when it comes to finding free money to help you finance your education. You do not only have the option of loans. There are a lot of different grants out there that different states offer. In the state of Virginia, these are some of the common ones that you'll find. Pell Grants you can get from a lot of other states as well. The Teach Grant is one that students who are looking at getting into the education field can get as well as the CEOG if you have a pretty low EFC, expected family contribution, as well as Work Study and the Perkins Loan, some common grants that you can get. However, please remember, if you are a student who is looking at using any of these grants, you must submit your FAFSA on or as close to October 1st as possible. We only get a small amount of these free grants given to us. So if you are someone who would like to see if you can get one of these, submit your FAFSA as close to the 1st of October as possible. Grants for Virginia colleges and universities are on the screen. These are 2 additional grants that you can get if you've graduated from a high school in Virginia, the Commonwealth Grant as well as VGAP. Some of the eligibility criteria are on the screen. We try to award VGAP as much as we can first to a lot of our entering freshmen, at least at ODU. And then we also have a Commonwealth Grant. They both offer different amounts of money. VGAP a little bit more. So with the VGAP funding, you must be a graduate and you have to have a high school GPA of at least a 2.5. Really not too difficult as long as you are, of course, while you're in high school, using the resources that your teachers have, as well as reaching out and letting your parents know if you need additional assistance. In order to keep receiving the VGAP, you must maintain at least a 2.0 while you are in school. That's the VGAP. But the Commonwealth Grant is very common as well. It's a little bit similar too. But with Commonwealth, the transfer students who come here can also be awarded this as well. With the Commonwealth, you have to make sure you're not attempting more than 150 credit hours, kind of like what we talked about earlier, making sure you're not staying in school longer than you need to. With both of these grants as well, you have to make sure you're staying in good, satisfactory academic progress. So please make sure that if you're a student who's been awarded any of these grants, that you're following those eligibility criteria to make sure these grants are not having to get taken away from your account. Now, with some of our outside agency scholarships, as well as institutional scholarships, these are also sources of free money. At ODU and a lot of other colleges and universities, there are institutional scholarships that we have that we can award to students as they submit their admissions packets. You'll usually receive an email or a postcard from any college or university you apply to, which will tell you which scholarships you are eligible for. These institutional scholarships are mostly funded by the institution and other endowments that we receive from the state and prior graduates. So make sure that you're reaching out to see what institutional scholarships you may qualify for after you submit your admissions packet. Outside of institutional scholarships, we also offer outside agency scholarships, and these are for sources outside of the university. I can't tell you how many different ones that I found just by typing in scholarships in my Google search engine. That's literally all you have to do in order for a slew of websites to pop up, offering you those great pieces of information. There are 2 types of different scholarships, private scholarships. The first is conventional, those scholarships that are heavy on your GPA, having a 3.0 or above, as well as being great in some sort of athletics. However, there are unconventional scholarships as well for those students who may not have the best GPA or may not be that great at writing, but they are very artsy, they are great filmmakers, and maybe they are just interested in a lot of other different things. Did you know, for instance, that you could win $10,000 for the most creative implementation of the Klingon language? Does anyone know where the Klingon language comes from? I can give you a hint. It is a very popular, I think it was only a movie series. I'm not sure if it was a TV series, was it? I'm not sure. But it comes from Star Trek. If you have a creative way to put it in a manuscript, or if you want to film a short YouTube video of you and your friend talking to each other, something as simple as that, using the Klingon language can win you a $10,000 scholarship. There are other types of scholarships as well. For instance, you can win $500 from the Tupperware scholarship just because your parent or another loved one sells Tupperware. No essay is required. If you are tall, if you are, I believe, a male over 6'2", or a female over, I believe, 6 feet, you can win $1,000 for being tall. If you are short, this one I know from personal experience, you could win $1,000 from the Short Person Scholarship Association. You have to be at least, I believe it is 5'9", excuse me, not 5'9", but about 4'9" to get it. So a little bit shorter, but hey, there is some scholarship money there as well. You can also get scholarship based on some of your lifestyle choices. Those persons who are vegans can win a scholarship from the Asparagus Scholarship, $5,000 to promote vegetarianism on your college campus, and you can win $10,000 just to promote it on your college campus. And for those of you who love meat a little bit more than asparagus, there is a National Beef Eaters Association scholarship, $10,000 for a good essay, and they will send you around the world doing small speaking engagements on behalf of the beef industry. When I tell you there are scholarships out there for everyone, there really is scholarships out there for everyone. If anyone were to come to you and say that to you, that there isn't something for them, more than likely they have not tried to look. Again, all you need to do is go to any of your preferred search engines, type in scholarships, and a slew of web pages will pop up. I know sometimes you get a little bit wary about whether or not a website has been vetted or not. I generally tell students to just make sure they're not asking for your social security number, and make sure they're not asking you to pay them to help you search, things like that. If they're not asking for anything like that, you can pretty much trust that site. Make sure that there is information on the actual Scholarship Association's website where you can navigate to vet that scholarship. Just some things to think about when you are trying to look for scholarships. Make sure you're putting in that time as well. I know a student about 4 years ago, her and her parent used her senior year of high school to search for those. They only contributed 1 hour each day to it. She ended up getting about $13,000 in scholarships. Her bill was around $10,000 for her first term. So she ended up being able to receive a refund in scholarships alone. And then she received the same amount, $13,000 in scholarships for that next term as well. Her and her father were effectively able to send her to school for free with free money without going into the red. So again, I know it takes some extra time out of your day. We are all very busy. However, college is expensive, and the more you can do to lessen your out-of-pocket expenses, the better it will be for you and your parent. So please make sure you're reaching out and researching these scholarships. As my father always told me, free money is the best money. After you have looked into all of the scholarships you're eligible for, then we ask for you to consider some of the loans that you've been offered. The Department of Education offers 2 different loans. The first is an unsubsidized loan. This loan anybody can get, no matter what your EFC is, because this is a not need-based loan, meaning whether or not your EFC is high or low, this loan is there solely for you to use it for any one of your college expenses, no matter how much you or your parents earn. With the unsubsidized loan, interest does not start to accrue until, of course, after graduation. Oh, actually, for this one, interest starts to accrue the moment that you accept that money and it hits your account. So if you are looking at your award package, you want to make sure that you accept your unsubsidized loan after you've accepted your subsidized loan. With the subsidized loan, it is need-based. So if you have a very high EFC, meaning you and your parents earn a lot of money, you won't get enough subsidized loans. You probably won't get offered any, just the unsubsidized loan. However, if you are offered a subsidized loan, know that interest does not start to accrue until after graduation. So this is the better of the 2 loans to accept, the subsidized loan. So just make sure you understand that these are options for you after you've exhausted your scholarships and your grants as well. Sometimes even those loans aren't enough for students and parents to cover the cost of tuition and fees. So I do ask that you consider the Parent Plus loan. Parents, this is a way for you to take out a loan on your college student's behalf. It is credit-based. However, this credit check is a lot lighter than those that you'll find for private loans. You'll also find that parents have the option of deferring their payments until after that student graduates as well. And because this is also funded by the Department of Ed, you'll find that there are a lot more deferment options as well as forbearance options than you'll find with institutions that offer private loans. So please make sure you consider a Parent Plus loan prior to going with an an outside private loan. Now is the time that I would like to invite a special guest. As you can see, her name is Victoria Parker. No coincidence, she is my sister, and she is doing me a solid for this evening because I love Miss Sheila so much. She has a great story to share. This is the part where I want to get into your wants versus needs. As young students, you may have a couple of issues being able to really decipher the difference between the two, especially when it comes to being able to get out of your parents' home and start your own life. I do want to remind you that there are things you need to look for prior to accepting your admittance to an actual institution. Make sure you're researching what their tuition fees and rates are. Make sure you're looking at the program to make sure it is a program that you are interested in, and kind of compare them and make sure that it's not going to put you into more debt than you already possibly may be in. There are ways to go to college by reducing the amount that you are actually borrowing. It just takes a lot more time and effort on your behalf. I'd now like to invite Victoria to turn on her screen and share her story with us. Ms. Sheila, may we allow her to take over?
Yes, definitely.
Is yours on? Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well. My sister and I are both in the same location.
I'm going to go ahead and let her use my laptop so that she can share with you all and reduce the frequency that's going on.
We leave this meeting. All right. Hi, can everyone hear me today? Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Victoria Parker. I'm so excited to be here with you all today. Thank you, Treese, for inviting me here today to give a little bit of information about my overall background. She told me that she would be speaking to you all about college education, as well as obtaining scholarship money to afford the education of your dreams, one that is going to catapult you into the career choice that you've always dreamt of. And for starters, I first wanted to say I'm a graduate of Heritage High School in Newport News, Virginia. And I was faced with a very similar situation where there was a dream school I've always wanted to go into, known as UNC Chapel Hill in North Carolina. I knew I wanted to go off and become a physician, actually. And I was faced with that dilemma of wondering, well, do I want to attend this school at UNC Chapel Hill, where it's possible that although I received a lot of scholarship money, there were still aspects of it that weren't fully funded. And my situation is that they were offering me pretty much an enormous amount of money that would cover everything except for maybe $5,000 for the first year, which is great. It's phenomenal. However, the next coming years afterwards would all be dependent upon the funding that they received on a year-by-year basis. Now, initially, $5,000 doesn't seem that bad. However, if the very next semester came or the second year came, I very well could have went from paying $5,000 to $10,000 or $20,000 because I was an out-of-state student from Virginia. And so I was faced with that dilemma between going to the school of my dreams, paying a small amount of money, but it's possible that it can increase, or I had the opportunity to attend full ride at a university that was right up the street, Norfolk State University, the Norfolk State University. And I know a very nice rival of Old Dominion University. So you can only imagine what it was like in our household during this time period. And you love me. But so I had the opportunity to attend Norfolk State University as a DeNEMA scholar for STEM majors. I majored in chemistry pre-medicine, and it was a full ride, but UNC Chapel Hill was my absolute dream school. But one thing that I talked to my parents about, my sister about, is the fact of you have to outweigh your pros and your cons. There's absolutely nothing wrong with taking out loans to go to a school that is going to afford you the opportunities to move into a career or get an education that you've always aspired to have. There's nothing wrong with that. But also there's nothing wrong with going to another school that also allows you to have the the same opportunities. What was it? Maybe your first choice initially, maybe not, until you researched that school and you looked at those opportunities that it afforded. So for me, as a DNEMA scholar, for one, it was a full ride scholarship to major in chemistry, pre-medicine, or biology, engineering, whatever have you in STEM. In addition to that, because I wanted to become a physician, they have a direct pipeline program that allowed you to apply to medical school directly as a sophomore and allowed you to bypass the MCAT before you graduated. And it also gave you an additional scholarship. So a lot of these were additional perks that helped me to ultimately decide Norfolk State University is where I wanted to be. But being faced with that opportunity, it came at that cost of, oh, this is my dream school, but I decided, you know what, I'll go there for medical school. I'll go to UNC for graduate school. I'm team full ride. Again, nothing wrong with loans. And there are many, many, many scholarships out there that you can apply for whatever qualities you have based on merit or metric systems as well. So for me, I ultimately decided NSU was for me. I then went on to the University of Iowa to obtain my PhD in medicinal chemistry, and that was also covered depending on what your major is. But as a STEM major in chemistry, it was completely covered as well. But the ultimate goal of what I would have wanted was to go into a career that allowed me to merge science and medicine together, and that's exactly what I've had a chance to do. Now I'm a postdoc at Boston, and it's been absolutely amazing. I love the fact of that I don't necessarily have to have the burden of some of the debt that could have occurred along the way. I just personally, as a personal choice, I didn't want to go through college wondering, will I have to pay $5,000 one year and have my parents help me with that? Or is the very next year going to turn into a $20K amount of debt that I would have to burden or worry about? So I'm blessed to have been afforded that opportunity to go completely free. And yeah, that's about my story, but is that?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I love her story. I'm biased. However, I wasn't as lucky as her to get a full ride. However, I did have to take out loans going to ODU. I knew what I had to do. And unfortunately, I did have to graduate in debt. Did I have the option of making a different decision and going to an institution that maybe not have been my first or second choice, but would have given me money? I could have. However, again, when we talk about our wants or needs, I chose to go with my wants. I looked at the wrong thing and I ended up having to graduate in more debt than what I actually intended to. So as they say, you live and you learn. I'm learning definitely now in my master's program, trying to go for free without having to pay a cent out of my pocket. So again, making sure that you're keeping that in perspective. I did want to ask Victoria one thing, because what I do get a lot from students is that they're not willing to sacrifice a lot for the choices that they're making. I hear a lot of students saying that they're used to being with their parents, seeing their family. They're used to being very social, being around their circle. And it kind of makes it hard for them to make an informed decision as to which college they should go to. Can you talk about some of the sacrifices you had to make in order for that to happen?
In terms of selecting NSU or going out of state, or?
I remember very frankly how it tortured you having to try to make that decision between Norfolk State and UNC Chapel Hill. Can you talk about some of the sacrifices you had to make, but how maybe it could have possibly been worthwhile after the fact?
Okay. And let me know if I didn't hit the question on the.
Oh, I will.
So so for me, it was a very agonizing decision because again, I'm a native from Goldsboro, North Carolina. So the Tar Heels were always, I was a big fan. I was one of their biggest fans. And it was agonizing just because I knew UNC also had that one of the premier medical school programs in the US, and I knew I wanted to be there. But that split decision, it really just came down to the fact of, you can make the school whatever it is that you want it to be. Whatever institution that you're at, no matter what state you're in, no matter what opportunities in front of you, you can make it whatever you want it to be. And so I took it as an opportunity where I said, you know what, I know exactly where I want to be. Or if I don't, I have an idea of how I can network to find those people that can help to get me there. And ultimately, I was able to network at NSU, and it got me in contact with a lot of mentors in science and medicine, and they helped to mentor me along the way, introduced me to internship opportunities, and as well as shadowing opportunities that helped me to see, is medicine really where I want to go? And ultimately, I was able to gauge those opportunities from NSU, as well as outside in the community, even when I went to the University of Iowa, even where I am now over here at Harvard. Like now I'm out here, and it's a premier hospital at the Massachusetts General Hospital, actually the top in the country, top medical school at Harvard. And it's all because you were able to help to leverage and network those opportunities to help get you where you need to be at. You decide how you want your opportunity to be, but the school doesn't make the person. Okay. Like, it's all about what you do with your opportunities. And it's about going after exactly what it is that you want. Even if you don't exactly know what that is, networking and getting that mentorship every single step of the way and exposing you to those opportunities bit by bit, that is ultimately what is going to help you no matter where you're at, no matter what state, in, out of state, down the street from your parents, no matter what career it is. But you ultimately get to decide and make how your experience will be. The school doesn't make you, you make it.
Thank you. And I'm glad you hit on what I needed you to.
Okay.
Primarily because when we go into a lot of scenarios or a lot of different events where we do have incoming freshmen coming in with their parents, you see the parent who is a little bit worried and who doesn't want to let go of their kid, but at the same time, you've got the kid who's only seeing one thing, and it's their college and leaving and being able to start their own life. And sometimes for those students, it may get a little bit scary. Their parents said that this is the best institution for them to go to. However, they're seeing a lot of the things that they're having to sacrifice, seeing their family a lot, hanging out with their usual circle and things like that. And it gets a little bit difficult for them to handle. So often that might make them make the wrong decision as well. I do remember a lot of the times we were able to Skype Victoria in for a lot of the different events that we had going on for our families, family get-togethers and things like that. We traveled to see her just like she traveled to see us. We sent her gifts whenever something great happened in life, like when she first got published. We made it work. So please just understand, sometimes there are going to be decisions you have to make, and they may not feel the best. However, you can make that opportunity the best for you. And again, there are so many different resources on your college campuses to reach out to if you are having difficulty dealing with anything that it is going on, especially if you go to Campbell's AME, you do have a group of people there who are able to support you through whatever you're going through too. So just making sure you understand, again, those wants versus needs. College is expensive, so please weigh in on those needs more than your wants. And of course, use your community to help you if you need, make that right decision. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I did also want to invite one of your own to speak, Mr. Adam Pierce. Thank you so much for agreeing to kind of share your insight on how you were able to find some free money to help you obtain your degree as well. I'll now invite Adam to speak.
Good evening. All right, so let's see if I come up here. Yep. So as you know, I'm trying to work everything at the same time, so it may be a little take me a second to get myself together here. But so the as we were talking about scholarships and whatnot, it reminded me that there are other scholarships out there also. So when I went to college, gotta switch the person. Hold on one second. All right. So when I went to college, I wasn't really prepared to go when I went. So I didn't do all of the necessary steps to get all of the financial aid and everything that I actually needed to have when college started, because my plan wasn't to go to college at first. It was to go and go into the military. But some folks changed my mind. And so when I started school, one of the first things I did was I still wanted to go into the military. So I went out to both the Navy and the Army ROTC programs to find out what it took to get a scholarship. So that first year, I had to pay for college through financial aid and a couple of small scholarships that I had. So I was able to get through that first semester or first year. And then after that, I was awarded a 3-year scholarship from the Army, where basically I was a cadet, Army cadet, and I spent a lot of time, going, learning all the Army, tactics and everything about the Army in order to prepare myself to be to go into the Army once I got out of the military and once I got out of college. And so that is the thing about ROTC scholarships, is that if you take a scholarship through ROTC, they will pay for your entire school. They'll pay for room and board. They pay for your tuition, and they'll also give you a small stipend to spend whatever you need to spend money on. So I mean, it's not a whole lot of money, but it's enough money to keep you from having to work 2 jobs to go out and party. So once you graduate, then you're going to be obligated to the military for it's usually a 4 years, 4 to 8 year obligation, depending on the service you go into and the contract that you sign. So I did try to go into the Navy first, but they had very high SAT score requirements, because Navy ROTC also required you to take all this nuclear physics and all this other sciences that I just wasn't into. So the Army was like, hey, you may have a low SAT score, but you're good enough for us. So the benefit was that, while in the Army, I was also able to use different resources inside of the Army, different programs to get my master's degrees. And then when I got out of the Army, towards the end of my Army career, and then when I got out, I was able to use the GI Bill to help pay for my doctorate. So from the beginning to the end, the military helped me pay for my education, all the way from my undergraduate, my second year undergraduate, all the way to my doctorate. So now, like I said, there is that one stipulation is that you do have to serve. So if it's not for everybody, but if it's something that you want to try, then it is. There are advantages to going into the military and using their scholarship program in order to pay for your education. All right.
Thank you so much. And I love that you were able to share about that and have 2 different ways of 2 different people who were able to obtain their degrees and at the same time avoid going into the red as much as possible. So that's already 2 different stories, 2 different people that we've heard from that have been able to work it and make it happen. They did what they needed to do. They kind of really looked at their wants versus needs, and they made smart decisions to do what they could to get their degrees. And it seems like obtain both of their doctorates as well at the same time. Amen. So yes, you don't hear those stories a lot. And that is why I was so happy, Adam, that you agreed to share your story as well as with you, Victoria, because it's one thing to hear it from me. Who knows if I'm telling the truth? However, if you hear it from the 2 persons who have actually been able to make it work, I feel that's a little bit more effective. So I thank you both for sharing your stories. I appreciate it. And I hope that we've been able to learn a lot from both of you so that anyone else who is interested in going to school can also try to do the same thing. Now, this is information on your screen on how you can contact some of our counselors at Old Dominion University. We're not the only university that has financial aid counselors. Every school has them. However, a lot of students aren't aware that they even exist. So make sure that you reach out to your financial aid counselors even before you go to school there. If you have any questions about different types of financial aid they may offer or anything like that, you are always able to contact them. If they do not answer their phones, do as our students do and email us as well. Currently, a lot of schools and institutions are still virtual, so they'll probably be able to meet with you in a virtual capacity, just like as we are. We have a virtual online area where you can go sit down with us in a virtual capacity, and we can help you in that way. So make sure you're doing that. I tell my students all the time, make sure you reach out sooner rather than later. The sooner you ask for help, the more likely we are to be able to do something for you, rather than you waiting until the very last moment to ask us for help and we've possibly run out of money, or it's possibly past time for us to be able to do anything about it. Please reach out, speak up, use your voice, especially if you're a freshman about to enter college. It is very important that you get the assistance that you need, because at the end of the day, if you don't get that help, no one else is going to lose anything besides you. So make sure you are your biggest champion, make sure you are your biggest advocate, and reach out to us for help if you do need it. Unfortunately, that's the end of my presentation. I would love to answer any questions that you all may have. I love to talk, as you can see. My sister, I can say, loves to talk at me as well. So feel free to ask any questions that you may have.
Well, initially I said I wasn't going to say anything, but wow, I'm telling you, this was an excellent presentation. It kept me in tune. Normally when I'm hearing about money and briefs and stuff, I doze off and not really pay attention, but you kept my attention the entire time. And I believe these young people that are online really got something out of this. One of the things that I would ask you is that beef scholarship, can it be used for graduate work?
I wish. Unfortunately, that one is only for undergraduate students, but I'm glad you mentioned graduate work. There are a lot of scholarships out there for graduate students as well. Again, Google is my best friend. Simply type in graduate scholarships as well as other grant opportunities, and you can find a whole lot of them.
Awesome. I just wish I had known about the beef scholarship a lot sooner than today. I definitely would have took my time to write a essay on some beef.
I know. I did mostly conventional scholarships when I was in undergrad. I never knew there were any other types of scholarships out there, which is why I feel it is so beneficial to share this with as many students as possible because, and I didn't speak about this in the presentation, but there's $2.3 billion each year in scholarship money that goes unclaimed. That means not even one person has submitted an application. Please do not leave that money floating out there, especially if you're someone who could really use it to help you get through school. Search, do the legwork, apply, and who knows, you may actually receive one. And also remember, never just go for those big scholarships because everyone are going for those. Make sure you focus on the smaller ones as well and get enough of those to help you get through school as well.
Okay. All right. Sister Parker, we do have a Facebook question. I don't know if Brother Adam is going to let you know about it, or should I tell you what the question is?
I'm fine with either.
Okay. We have a question from Latoya. She said, what about if students do not know much about the military and are constantly being told about college? What can we do to allow students to know about the military benefits?
I would definitely say looking at different ROTC websites when it comes to different institutions that you are interested in would be very helpful. As long as with going to the VA website as well, they have a lot of information on those programs as well. Adam, I'm not sure if you knew of any additional resources or pieces of help that you could offer where they might be able to find some of that information.
Yeah, so if you are interested before you go to college, then usually if you are part of the junior ROTC at your school, They can give you some information and point you in the right direction. But once you get on campus, if that's something you want to do, you just they just got to go talk to the whatever branch that they're looking into. Just go talk to the recruitment people, and they will give them all the information they need about what they need to do to get the scholarship and what benefits go along with the scholarship. So there's not really a the only people you really see are the recruiters for going straight into the military in the high schools. But I think some students that may be more interested, they could get their junior ROTC folks to reach out to colleges to bring their recruiters in. They do have recruiters at ROTC as well, so that recruit just specifically for ROTC. So if a student is interested, they can talk to their junior ROTC office or their guidance office and get them to reach out to colleges in order to get those recruiters that work at the ROTC offices to come to their high schools and give them information about scholarships.
All righty. Are there any more questions? Because Ms. Parker, I do want you to touch a little bit about, we have about 8 minutes, about the VMS-DEP program. Can you kind of like touch that a little bit about the military benefits in that area for us, please?
I can. So the state of Virginia offers another program besides post 9/11 GI Bill by the VA that allows those dependents as well as spouses of military personnel who are now retired or have been killed in action to receive additional monies to help them get their education. With the VMSTEP program, you would simply apply through the My VMSTEP portal, and they'll basically ask you to procure all of these different documents to prove that that person is an Army vet or any other military vet, and to show kind of what their disability status is. And then from that, they will again approve you, and then they will give you enough money to pay off all of your tuition and fees. Unfortunately, it doesn't cover housing or meal plans like that, but tuition and fees are going to be the bulk of your college expenses. Some students may also be eligible to receive a stipend as well. Currently, that stipend amount is $950 a term. It can change. I believe it was the same amount last year, though, and that is dependent upon the availability of funding as well. So that is another great resource that students should look into if they are a dependent or a spouse of a military vet.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
What is the requirement to get the stipend?
You mute. Unmute, Latrice.
Thank you, Ms. Sheila. The stipend is only given for those students who are a dependent or the spouse of a military vet who has been killed in action. Those are the only students who would be able to receive the stipend. It could also be students or dependents or spouses of military vets who are over 90% disabled.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I got a question in regards to the two grants, the VGAP and the Commonwealth. Are they only available to public schools?
I believe those are only given by public institutions. Yes, sir. Because in order for us to receive them, we do have to remain compliant with the different Fed and state guidelines, and private institutions don't really have to. They have a little bit more arm room to be able to exercise their autonomy. But I do believe those are just for public institutions. However, I'd be more than happy to get a definite answer for you, since I think Ms. Sheila can send me your information, and I can make sure I research that.
Yeah, most definitely, please.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions?
If there's not, Victoria did want to add something about STEM. STEM is very big right now, and there is a lot of money literally being thrown at any student who is looking at going into some sort of STEM field. So if she could talk a little bit about that free money that's floating around out there, being reticent that we only have 5 more minutes.
Okay. Hi, everyone, I'm back. I mainly just wanted to put out a little PSA when it comes to STEM as well, whether it's anything between science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, because I talk to a lot of students on panels or also just as a mentor, and a lot of students are under the impression that school for the sciences as well is very, very expensive, as if they want to go to school for it, but they don't know how they're going to pay for it. And when it comes to STEM, especially minority students that are in STEM, money is thrown at you. And that's at an undergraduate level as well as a graduate level. Even there's options if you wanted to go to medical school, you can go there for free. They have MD, PhD programs that will pay for you to get both degrees free of charge. And they actually pay you to go to school. So for me, when I went to graduate school to get my PhD, they were paying me money. They paid me a stipend. So I wasn't just in school and I had to pay tuition. I didn't have to worry about anything. They were throwing money, paying me to go learn some material. And it's not only just in STEM either, but at a graduate level, if you're in the social sciences, they or pretty much any PhD program for sure that you want to go into, even masters, they have fellowships that you can apply for through the Ford Foundation, the National Science Foundation, a lot of these different organizations that will pay for your tuition, and they'll also pay you money just to learn this material, to conduct research, and ultimately to get your degree. And a lot of them will cover your room and board. And just as my sister mentioned, there's a lot of free money out there. And if you all had any additional questions when it came to STEM or anything, I would be more than happy to help in any way. So thank you all.
Taking my talking time.
Sorry.
Joking. But thank you so much, Ms. Sheila, for inviting me to speak with you all today. I know sometimes students or parents may get a question that comes up that they didn't think about while we're in session. So I would like to put in the chat my email address as well as my office number so that you can contact me if you have any questions. Even if it's something to do with STEM, I'd be more than happy upon call to give you Victoria's information as well.
Okay.
Sister Peace Johnson, again, let me take just a moment. We didn't have to worry about time because you all were talking about money, and most of us understand how important this conversation is. Because we all are recipient of degrees and we are recipient of paying for children that are going through school. Mm-hmm. So we want to maintain a relationship with you and your sister. Mm-hmm. And we're looking forward to doing this again because we want to make sure that we have more children exposed to this information. Because there's a lot of kids going to school and don't have all the information that you just presented, and they are standing that big long line and under all this pressure. So we thank you for what you did tonight. I am indebted. I'm indebted to you all. I'm very much appreciative of what you have done tonight. And on behalf of Campbell's Chapel, we are excited that you and Sister Peace Johnson know each other and are working together. Yeah. I just Peace Johnson, I'm done. I'm not gonna say anymore.
No. This is yours. This is yours as well. But I just want to thank the Parker sisters, my friends, for joining us this evening. We just can't stress enough that there are so many scholarships out there. I'm telling you, there are so many. We have so many students that walk in our office and they were the only one to apply for that particular scholarship. I'm telling you, it's just so many. And I can say that SJ was fortunate where he had a little teeny bit of debt, but he was afforded the opportunity for scholarships. Praise God for that. Thank you, Jesus. But I told him I would help him with undergrad, but he's stroking his own checks for graduate school. He's doing it himself. He's gonna take the torch and find his own scholarships for that. But I just want to thank everybody for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us this evening. And Ms. Parker, she will be available on the via email, phone call. She's an open door person. She doesn't mind speaking with you. And I will say, parents, if when your child goes off to college, to be sure and get you one good contact person on that campus, because your paperwork may get stuck on a desk somewhere and your paperwork isn't being processed, but you need at least one contact person on campus that you can go to and say, hey, what's going on with my child's information? It was submitted, what happened? And I think Latrice and I will those people on in our office. We are, because we make sure that students, they have the tools and the information they need to succeed, because parents can't get to their child like somebody on campus can. And we just want to make sure that, you have one person that you can call and speak to about your child's education. Okay. So anything else for the good of the cause here? Got to throw a little church in there.
Don't ask me to keep talking, Miss Sheila.
No,
I could keep everybody here hours longer. Again, my contact information is in the chat. I love talking to people. So please reach out to me if you need anything. And Victoria is mouthing to me that she'll also put hers in the chat as well, just in case we have any persons out there who's looking for some more STEM information.
We can't hear you.
I'm just going to put my information in the chat right here. If anyone especially has any questions related to STEM or graduate school, or just need advice about the scholarship programs as well, I'm also available if you have any questions.
Righty. I think we'll wrap it up, Ms. Parker. Anything else you need to close? Or Pastor, you have any closing remarks, or anybody have anything they need to say or share with us? To the students online, what school are you attending? Let's go there, Latrice. Let's go there, Ms. Parker. Let's see who we have.
Let's go.
Okay.
I would love to hear this.
We have Jada, Jasmine, Natalie. We have Felicia, I think, for her daughter, Chanel. So let's see where they're attending.
Yes, let's hear from you guys. The first person, Jada, Virginia State University. Thank you so much. Welcome. Thank you for attending. I'd love to give you a gift for being here with us tonight. Ms. Sheila, if I could give that to you when I come into the office Wednesday. Jada, if you can put your contact information in the chat. I would love to get that sent to you.
Okay. So her twin sister is there. Do you see Jasmine?
We've got Norfolk State University.
Hey, home. Okay. Yes. Sorry, I get a little excited.
Hi, guys. Yes, email and phone number, Jada, would be great. I just want to make sure I can get a hold of you so I can get you this gift.
Behold.
Can anyone tell me if you've already submitted your FAFSA? If you're graduating this year, if you've already submitted your FAFSA for this upcoming? Oh, yes. Great. Nice, everybody. Okay, well, just keep that same energy next year as well. Again, it's every October, making sure that you submit your FAFSA as close to October the 1st as possible, okay? Great job. I'm gonna go ahead and send 2 gifts to Natalie as well as Felicia. So Natalie and Felicia, thanks so much for submitting your FAFSA and being on top of the game. Go ahead and give me your email address and phone number too. I have some gifts for you guys.
All right. Wonderful. Where is Jada? Jada? Okay. So Jada is now popping up now. She's attending Virginia State University as well. She is. All
I
right.
love my HBCUs. Okay.
Well, we have a lot of HBCUs on here. Go ahead, Pastor and First Lady. Go ahead. Okay.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, students. Again, thank you so much for being here, staying with us, listening to me, and also getting that great knowledge from both Adam and Victoria. Again, thank you both, Ms. Sheila, Campbell Chapel AME. Thank you again so much.
Absolutely. But thank you. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank y'all so much for attending.